Good afternoon, all. Our talk will short startly. The resource person has joined. Ramya ma'am, welcome to this talk.
Hello, good afternoon,
Yes, hello
everyone.
ma'am. Ma'am, we'll just wait for a few more minutes for some of others to join.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Good afternoon, all. Welcome to the talk. Good afternoon, all. Welcome to the talk on environmental pollution organized by Industry Innovation Council School of Engineering as part of the National Pollution Control Day. Today we have with us Srimati Ramya G, Environmental Engineer, Kerala State Pollution Control Board Head Office, Trivandrum. We welcome you, ma'am, to this talk. Uh, we will have a brief profile of Srimati Ramya Ji. She has been working as the engineer in Kerala State Pollution Control Board for the past 13 years and is working as the environmental engineer and presently posted at head office of Kerala State Pollution Control Board, Trivandrum. She has had several teaching experiences of more than 8 years. She has represented Kerala State in the international training program for environmental regulators held at Stockholm, Sweden, jointly organized by Swedish Environmental Protection Agency and Center for Science and Environment, New Delhi. She has been a part of various national workshops organized by premier institutions like IIT, IIIT, etc. And she has attended various or training programs organized by the state boards and conducted various workshops and training programs and rendered speeches related to environmental awareness in All India Radio and participated in talk shows of several TV channels. We welcome you, ma'am, to this talk. Let's all have lend our ears to Ramya, ma'am. Ma'am, over to you, please.
So, my dear students, a very good afternoon to all of you. And I am very happy to know that premier educational institutions are organizing such programs and observing such days of national importance. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, absolutely audible.
Okay. As you may be aware, every year the 2nd December is observed as the National Pollution Control Day in memory of thousands of people who lost their lives in the Bhopal gas tragedy. And this year I had already two programs in connection with this pollution control day observation. First one was giving a message to public in a talk show on 2nd December. And the second one was a technical talk in All India Radio. And this is the third one in connection with pollution control day this year. And I think this program will be the most effective of all the three programs because you, the student fraternity, you have infinite potential, infinite power, infinite energy pent up within you. And it's you who can spread this great message of environmental protection in the most powerful manner. And apart from simply learning about this environmental protection, we cannot save ourselves now. We have to act accordingly. We have to do something. It's high time to act for action. Otherwise, the nature will react in the most unexpected way, and we may not be able to meet the consequences of such a reaction. And also, it is noteworthy here to say that there is ample scope for you people for research, experiments, and innovation in the field of environmental protection. And I understand that this program is organized by IIC SOE, that is Institute Innovation Council, right? So there is ample scope for innovative practices in this particular field. I'll just show you a simple example towards the end of our session. And I think the students from different disciplines are attending this program, civil mechanical, like electrically, computer, and IT. It's an era of continuous real-time monitoring systems for effluent as well as emission monitoring. So that thing needs interdisciplinary involvement. So all of you will have to play your own role in developing such systems. And after all, this topic is related to all of us. It is related to our safety. It's related to our environment. So naturally, it's relevant to all. And well, I'd like to mention one more point. That is actually my association with Professor Dr. Madhu sir of your School of Engineering, CUSAT, started years back when I joined Pollution Control Board. He's a expert member of many of our committees. And when sir mentioned about this program, I just readily agreed without even a second thought. Two things. One, actually, when Madhu sir told about this program, I never miss a chance to interact with you people, students. Because before joining board, I was in teaching profession, as Sanjana mentioned at the beginning. So I really enjoy talking to you people. But unfortunately, this week I was tested COVID positive. So at times I find it difficult to talk continuously. But I hope I can manage today, because when I am with students, I feel very happy. It gives me a positive vibe. But one thing, you should interact. Okay, you should feel free to interact at any point of time during the presentation, so that I'll get a breathing time in between. And also, since this is a afternoon webinar, if it happens to be a monologue like this, instead of being a thought-provoking session, it will become a sleep-provoking session. So at least some of you switch on your cameras, you feel free to interact, and I hope an active participation from you people. And I think around 20 participants are there in this program now. So it's a very small audience. So definitely it's just like a small classroom. We can freely interact. Okay, agreed. So are you ready
Oh,
to start our
yes, ma'am.
talk?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
fine. So I'll just share my screen. Is it visible to you?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. So today we'll be discussing about a very relevant topic. We'll have a glimpse on the burning issue of air pollution in India. This is highly relevant because our natural capital, the national capital is finding it difficult to breathe nowadays. And also, in the current scenario of the outbreak of COVID pandemic, this air pollution has become much more relevant. We are more concerned about these issues of air pollution nowadays. So in this talk, we'll be just seeing what is air pollution, which are the main issues concerned with this. The World Health Organization estimates that about 2 million people die prematurely every year as a result of air pollution, while many more suffer from breathing ailments, heart disease, lung infections, and even cancer. Do you know how much air do we breathe in each day? Any guesswork, any idea, Aman? What do you think? How much air do we breathe in every day?
Don't have clear idea. Don't have any idea, ma'am.
Just have any wild guess.
That I know too much air we breathe.
Okay, Sanjana, what do you think?
Very difficult to measure and tell him, ma'am. But I haven't given a thought on that yet.
Akash, would you like to go for a guess?
No, ma'am, I don't have any idea.
No. Okay, fine. About 20,000 liters of air per day. So you can just imagine if we breathe in this much of polluted air into our small lungs, what will happen to our health? You can just imagine. And you might have heard that living in Delhi is just similar to smoking a minimum of 25 cigarettes a day. So even if you are not a smoker, the effect is that of being a chain smoker. So let's see what is air pollution, which are the different sources of air pollution. Of course, there are natural sources as well as man-made sources, stationary sources as well as mobile sources. Then let's see which are the major air pollutants. Which are the impacts of air pollution? There are n number of impacts of air pollution. So today we will be discussing any one, say smog, that is much relevant nowadays. So we will be discussing in detail about smog. Then how to measure the air pollution at a particular place and what board is doing to ensure environmental air protection or prevention of air pollution and what can we people do generally. And let's conclude with an interesting TED talk, I think. And so what is air pollution? What is air pollution? Varsha, what is air pollution? In simple words. What is air pollution or anybody? Krishna, what is air pollution? എന്താണ് നിങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഇങ്ങനെ
Polluting the air with poisonous gas, toxics.
Yeah.
Any unwanted material present in air.
Yeah, that's right. So presence of any pollutant in air, that is air pollution. Then what is air pollutant? Pollutant means it may be a solid, liquid or gaseous substance present in air, but it is present in such a concentration that it tends to be injurious to human beings, plants, animals or properties or any part of environment. So that is air pollutant. Now, which are the different sources of air pollution? Which are the different sources of air pollution?
Ma'am, industries, our
Yeah.
refrigerators.
Yeah, industries,
Automobiles.
refrigerators. Then I think you have forgot to mention just one main source. How do you come to college? By college bus or by car or by
Yes, ma'am,
yeah,
transportation
vehicular
system.
pollution. Then industrial pollution, vehicular pollution or automobile pollution, indoor sources of air pollution. So a lot of sources are there. So I'll just show you some pictures. You just tell me whether it is a natural source or a man-made source. Okay. Industrial emission, natural or man-made?
Man-made source, ma'am.
Man-made source. Then burning fossil fuels and automobile pollution, again man-made. Then volcanic eruption, that is
Natural.
natural source.
Natural.
Forest fire, natural.
Natural.
Then mining operations, man-made again. Then pollution from power plants, again man-made. Then this is a recent reason of air pollution. We are receiving a lot of complaints regarding air pollution due to construction activities, especially of high-rise buildings like flats and highway construction. We are receiving a lot of complaints regarding air pollution due to these two construction activities, mainly high-rise buildings and highway construction. And this results in dust pollution, particulate matter pollution. But again, this is also a man-made source. So you can see that most of the sources are man-made. And another area is indoor pollution, indoor air pollution. Anyway, today we are not going into the details of indoor pollution, but just let's have a glimpse. If you consider a small house, you can see a lot of sources of indoor pollution, right? If you begin right from the foundation, what happens? In the cases of some rocks underlying the foundation, there will be radon gases. So from some rocky strata, the gases including radon, they seep through the foundation upwards and it causes air pollution. Now, if you go to living room, say a person is sitting and smoking there, cigarette smoke contains how much chemicals? 4,000 chemicals cigarette smoke contains. Now, if you go to the car porch, it results in carbon monoxide fumes while starting and while racing. It will result in carbon monoxide emission. Now, if you go to kitchen, combustion gases from fireplaces that result in again air pollution. Now, if there are some pets in your home, animal hair that also causes air pollution and that affects our respiratory systems. And another air pollutant in indoor air pollution is chemical fumes from paints and solvents. They are termed as volatile hydrocarbons. That is organic compounds and their derivatives which are volatile. Then chemicals released from modern building and furnishing materials. They are also responsible for indoor air pollution. Then the bacterial decay and decomposition in toilets and chemicals from cleaning products. So you can see several sources of indoor pollution. And recently it has been found that the indoor pollution is also having the same intensity as that of vehicular pollution. Now let's say which are the major pollutants. These are the 6 major common pollutants known as criteria pollutants, because these common pollutants determine whether the air at a particular area is polluted or not. So they are termed as criteria pollutants. So these are the criteria pollutants: particulate matter, carbon monoxide, oxides of sulfur and nitrogen, ground level ozone, and lead. And as far as Indian situation is concerned, we have 8 criteria pollutants. Do you know which are the 8 criteria pollutants? Of course, all these 6. And particulate matter is again 2 types, PM10 and PM2.5. So it has become 7. And ammonia is also considered as a criteria pollutant in India. Now let's see in detail about these pollutants one by one. Let's see which are the different sources of each type of pollutant, then which are the problems associated with each type of pollutant and how to remove these pollutants, that we can discuss in detail. So these pollutants actually, they may be of 2 types, primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. Primary pollutants means they are emitted directly from identifiable sources, just like carbon dioxide, then oxides of nitrogen emitted from vehicles. So they are all primary pollutants. And what do you mean by secondary pollutants? These primary pollutants, they react in between in atmosphere. And due to these chemical reactions, some new pollutants are produced. They are known as secondary pollutants. And these are all the secondary pollutants we'll be seeing in detail: formaldehyde, ozone, PANS. And I think those who are in the civil engineering branch, they'll be studying in detail in the air pollution. If you have opted air pollution elective, you'll be studying in detail these things. So in this particular picture, we can see natural sources as well as man-made source. See this volcano, this is a natural source. This industry, this is again this is a man-made source. Then this vehicle, this is also a man-made source. And again, this vehicle is a mobile source, whereas this industry is a stationary source. So in this picture, we can see natural sources, man-made sources, stationary sources, mobile sources. And also, these are the pollutants which are directly emitted into the atmosphere. So these are all primary pollutants. These primary pollutants react among them, and these chemical reactions give rise to these sets of secondary pollutants. And now coming to the criteria pollutants, the first criteria pollutant that we'll be discussing is particulate matter. Have you heard of particulate matters? What's a particulate matter? Joseph, what's a particulate matter? എല്ലാവരും ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ട് പതുക്കെ ലീവ് ചെയ്ത് പോയേക്കുവാണ് ക്യാമറയൊക്കെ ഓഫ് ചെയ്ത്. ഉണ്ടോ ഇവിടെ? ഐഷ, ജോയൽ?
Yes, sum of solid and liquid present in air.
Yeah. That is, particulate matter means particles which are suspended in air. So they describe a wide variety of airborne material, including dust, smoke, soot, fly ash. So they are either directly emitted into the air or they result from the transformation of gaseous pollutants through chemical reactions in the atmosphere. So these are the microscopic views of a fly ash particle. So a lot of fly ash particles, they are captured on a filter paper. And the microscopic view is this one, fly ash particles you can see. You can see in this picture. So these are the sources of particulate matter, mobile sources. It's from vehicles, then from power plants and factories, and from dry cleaners, and from petrol pumps. They are also sources of particulate matter. Then forest fires and volcanoes. They also result in the production of particulate matter, and also the construction activities. So particulate matter are particles of different substances suspended in air. They may vary widely in size, and aerosols, dust, smoke, fumes, mist, fog, fly ash, these are all particulate matters. In particulate matter, usually these particulate matter, it won't be having a regular size, it will be irregularly shaped. So it is very difficult to define it. So we define it using a term known as aerodynamic diameter. Aerodynamic diameter is nothing but a theoretical diameter of an irregularly sized particle, so that the settling velocity of that particle will be the same as the settling velocity of a spherical particle of the same diameter. So such a theoretical diameter of an irregularly shaped particle is known as aerodynamic diameter. It is usually measured in microns. That means 1/1,000,000th of a meter. There are mainly two types of particulate matters, PM 2.5 and PM 10. PM means particulate matter, 2.5 means its aerodynamic diameter. So particles having a diameter of less than or equal to 2.5 micron are known as PM 2.5. And particulate matter having less than 10 micron diameter are known as PM 10. And if you want to have an idea of their size, we can see this. See, if you consider fine beach sand, ഒരു മണൽത്തരിയുടെ, that sand particle, its diameter is just 90 microns. And if you consider human hair, normally the thickness of a single human hair is 50 to 70 microns. And if you consider, say, thick hair, നല്ല thick hair ഉള്ള ഒരാളുടെ മുടിയാണെങ്കിൽ, a single hair will be having a diameter of roughly 100 micrometer. That means 40 numbers of PM 2.5 particulate matters can be placed across the width of a single hair strand. So small is its size. So this just will give you a comparative idea. PM 2.5, soot particle is PM 2.5, dust is coming under the category of PM 10, and this is beach sand. And if this is the thickness of hair, PM 2.5 will be this small. It's very fine. And if the particulate matter is even less than 0.1 microns in diameter, it is known as ultra fine particle. This we have already discussed. So they result from, as we have already seen, automobile emissions, dust, and cooking processes and chemical reactions in the atmosphere. And if you consider the sources of PM 10 and PM 2.5 in atmosphere, in air, PM 10 mainly comes into air through dust and transport and waste burning. These three are the major sources of PM 10 in air. And if you consider PM 2.5, which is the main source, waste burning. Waste burning is mainly responsible for PM 2.5 emission into atmosphere or air. 22.7% is contributed by transport sector. So these two are mainly responsible for PM 2.5, whereas dust and waste burning are the main reasons for PM 10. So in both the cases, you can note that waste burning is a significant factor contributing to particulate matter pollution. Okay, please note that point in mind. We'll come to that later. And these are the effects of particulate matter. It leads to premature death, aggravated asthma, acute respiratory symptoms, chronic bronchitis, and decreased lung function. And people with existing heart and lung disease and the elderly and children, they are particularly at risk due to this particulate matter. And in brief, these are the health problems associated with particulate matter. First one, particulate matter leads to lung irritation. That means it leads to increased permeability in lung tissue. And it increases susceptibility to viral and bacterial pathogens. So this also contributes to increase in the COVID spread. And PM aggravates the severity of chronic lung diseases. So that is why those people who are already having some respiratory illness suffer seriously. And it also causes inflammation of lung tissue, resulting in the release of chemicals that impact heart function. And also it causes changes in the blood chemistry, which results in clots that can cause heart attacks. So that is why air pollution results in increased number of heart attacks. And see, the size of a particulate matter, really it does matter. We can classify them into 4 categories for easily understanding it. Particles larger than 10 micrometer. They are trapped in the nose and throat and they never reach the lungs. Therefore, we are not much concerned about particles having diameter more than 10 microns. So we are interested in PM10 and PM2.5. And now coming to PM10, particles between 5 and 10 microns, they are removed by physical processes in the throat. So they also don't pose much threat. But coming to the particles smaller than 5 microns, they reach the bronchial tubes. While particles less than 2.5 microns in diameter or smaller, they are breathed into the deepest portions of the lungs. And now let's see which are the determinants of particulate matter concentration. So the particulate matter concentration in the air at a particular place depends upon these factors: the weather pattern of that particular area, then wind velocity, wind direction, then stability of air, that means the vertical movement of air, then turbulence of air, precipitation. If rain is there, these small particulate matters, they will join together and they will settle along with rain. Then topography of the area, then stack height, the height of the chimneys of industries in that particular area, and the temperature of gases emitted through different stacks. And there is another effect known as building downwash. Nowadays, there are the number of high-rise buildings are increasing. So these high-rise buildings cause a building downwash. If a particular area is crowded with a number of tall buildings, all these structures may lead to a downward moving current. So all the pollutants, usually pollutants, what will happen to the pollutants? They will rise to the top area. They will be taken to considerable heights where they disperse and they won't cause much harm for human beings. But due to this building downwash, all these pollutants move downward due to these downward moving currents. That is known as building downwash of smokestack emissions. And another significant point is the role of inversion. Have you heard of the term inversion? If you have read in newspapers regarding that Delhi air pollution, you might have heard of this term. Joel, have you heard of the term inversion?
No, miss, no idea. Sorry.
Okay, inversion means usually the air which is in contact with ground. During daytime, that will be warmer. During nighttime, that will be cooler. So this is a normal case. So the air which is in contact with the ground will be warmer. And as altitude increases, temperature decreases. So when we go up, the air will become cooler like that. So this is the normal situation. So in this case, what will happen? The warm air will move up. So this air layer or the air parcel, warm air layer or warm air parcel will be less denser and it will move up. Then what will happen? The cooler air that is denser, that will come down. So there will be a circulation of air like this. So the pollutants will be dispersed to considerable heights. So they won't cause much impact to us or the vegetation. And this situation is known as unstable situation because there is enough air movement. But if you consider another situation like this, that's the second picture, that is mainly during winter and during night time. The air layer which is in contact with the ground will be cooler compared to the air just above it. So what will happen? A warm layer of air is sitting just at the top of a cool layer of air. So this is denser, so it cannot move up. So what will happen? This warm layer of air is trapped between these two. And the industrial emissions, as you can see in this picture, they will be trapped here. They cannot rise upwards. Okay, this is a normal situation. As altitude increases, temperature decreases. But in this case, in this particular area, what happens? As altitude increases, temperature increases up to this point. So this is known as inversion. So during this inversion, the pollutants cannot escape into atmosphere. They will be trapped near the ground, causing much pollution problems. So this phenomenon is known as inversion. Okay, is it clear? Any doubt? Okay, I'm moving to the next slide. So these are some major
Okay.
episodes of severe air pollution due to inversions. It started way back in 1930s. There was in Meuse River Valley, Belgium. There was an inversion which led to a high concentration of pollutants during a period of, as we have seen, cold, damp weather. So this inversion is one main reason for smog formation. Smog is again two types: sulfurous fog and photochemical smog. We'll be discussing about smog in detail. And in Pennsylvania also there was an inversion similar to this, but these are mainly because of industrial emissions. And this is a notorious fog. It is also known as killer fog. You might have heard of London smog. This is the notorious London smog incident. The primary source was domestic coal burning, and due to this mist and fog, 4,500 people died during December. So this is a great London smog. Now coming to other pollutants, we were discussing about particulate matter, and another pollutant is carbon monoxide. Incomplete oxidation of carbon results in the production of carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is emitted to the atmosphere or air from volcanoes, forest fires. These are all natural sources. And during photochemical reactions in the troposphere, carbon monoxide formation occurs. And also the vehicular movement results in carbon monoxide emission. Incomplete burning of carbon always results in carbon monoxide. Which are the problems associated with it? It causes dizziness, confusion, unconsciousness, and even death. And breathing air with a high concentration of carbon monoxide, it reduces the amount of oxygen that can be transported to critical organs like heart and brain. So ultimately, it will affect the functioning of heart and brain. Because the affinity of hemoglobin to carbon monoxide is about 240 times higher than the affinity of hemoglobin to oxygen. So our hemoglobin readily combines with carbon monoxide. So the major organs, they won't get enough oxygen. And another problem is also there. If in pulse oximeter we use in the endowment, have you heard of it? Pulse oximeter? Have you heard of pulse oximeters?
No, ma'am.
Abdullah, have you heard of pulse oximeter? Sanjana? Have you heard of pulse oximeter? Pulse
Yes,
oximeter?
yes.
Yeah, nowadays everybody is keeping a pulse oximeter in their home. So that if a COVID air level check oxygen level, right? But when there is a case of carbon monoxide poisoning, what will happen? This pulse oximeter will be giving misleading results, erroneous results, because this carbon monoxide readily combines with hemoglobin. And there will be carboxyhemoglobin as well as oxyhemoglobin. So this pulse oximeter, it gives the total value of carboxyhemoglobin plus oxyhemoglobin. So we will be under the impression that this much oxygen is absorbed in our blood, but actually that will be carbon monoxide. So enough oxygen may not be there in our organs. So ultimately people will be suffering and it may become fatal. So that is the problem associated with carbon monoxide poisoning nowadays, and it is resulting from vehicular emissions. So most of us will be inhaling this carbon monoxide also. So that will be also reaching our lungs. So that may give erroneous result of pulse oximeter. Okay. Now another pollutant is lead. Sources of lead emission vary from area to area. There may be some lead smelter, or lead may come due to lead acid battery manufacturing, or operation of a leaded aviation fuel aircraft, or metal processing that may also result in lead pollution. So they are all man-made sources. Volcanic activity and airborne soil are the natural sources of atmospheric lead. Once lead is taken into the body, what will happen? It will cause nerve damage. It will cause brain damage. It will affect hearing. It will slow down our growth as a whole. It will affect the digestive system as well as the reproductive system. And lead is highly poisonous. It may also cause cardiovascular diseases, and also it may affect our immune system and kidney function also. Another pollutant is ground level ozone. And ozone നല്ലതാണെന്നല്ലേ പറയുക. We have to protect ozone. Depletion of ozone we have to prevent. There is a hole in the ozone layer, so we have to protect ozone. That's what we are hearing nowadays. Then why this ozone is considered as a pollutant? Is it a pollutant actually? Is ozone a pollutant or a blessing? Is a boon or a bane? What do you think? It's a good thing or a bad thing? Aisha, what do you think? Joel, is it a pollutant or a protector?
Ma'am, for living things, ozone is pollution.
For
For
non-living thing, it's a protector. No, then
for Earth, considering Earth, it can prevent some.
we are living in the. It protects us from UV rays. Usually, ozone protects us from UV rays. Ozone kudaya samrakshika, it protects us like an umbrella എന്നൊക്കെ പറയുമല്ലോ. Higher layer of atmosphere, troposphere, stratosphere ഒക്കെ പഠിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടാവുമല്ലോ. So when ozone is present in stratosphere, it's a good thing. But ground level ozone is a pollutant. That ozone present in the stratosphere is it is naturally present there, but this ground level ozone, it is produced due to some chemical reactions. So stratosphere ozone is good, while ground level ozone is a pollutant. Ozone is formed in the atmosphere when this ultraviolet radiation, it dissolves or dissociates the oxygen molecules into two separate oxygen atoms. These two oxygen atoms, OO, they recombine to form oxygen molecules. But if a free oxygen atom collides with an oxygen molecule, what will happen? So initially UV rays, they break O2 into O and O. And these oxygen atoms, active oxygen atoms, they collide with an oxygen molecule to form ozone. So that is ground level ozone. This breathing ozone can trigger a variety of problems, health issues, respiratory illness, lung diseases, etc. It can also have harmful effects on vegetation as well as ecosystems. And this is how ground level ozone is formed. Oxides of nitrogen emitted from vehicles and the volatile organic carbons, they react in presence of heat and sunlight to produce ozone. And this is ground level ozone. This ground level ozone, which is present in the lower layer of air, is a pollutant. Then oxides of nitrogen, they are the next group of pollutants. They are mainly emitted into the atmosphere from emissions from automobiles, trucks, buses, power plants, and off-road equipments. And breathing air with a high concentration of oxides of nitrogen can affect our respiratory systems. If the exposure is over a short period, it may result in coughing, wheezing, or difficulty in breathing. But if it is a longer exposure, what will happen? It may result in respiratory infection. It may cause asthma and other respiratory diseases. And apart from this, these oxides of nitrogen, they react with other chemicals in air to form particulate matter and ozone. So it leads to two other types of pollutants also. And all these are harmful. So there will be a cumulative effect. All of them will affect our respiratory system. All of them will result in the formation of smoke. The next pollutant is sulfur, oxides of sulfur, sulfur dioxide. The largest source of sulfur dioxide is burning of fossil fuels by power plants and other industries. So main source of sulfur dioxide is industrial emission, and also locomotives, ships and other vehicles and heavy equipment that burn fuel with high sulfur content. Nowadays, the carbon monoxide emission as well as sulfur dioxide emission is increasing. Do you know what is the reason? After this outbreak of COVID, there was an increase in online purchases. So now we purchase almost all things from Amazon or Flipkart or Myntra. So the online shopping has increased. It's an online shopping spree. So that resulted in increased movement of ships and containers. So that results in increased emission of carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide. The sulfur dioxide can harm trees and plants also by damaging foliage and decreasing the growth. Also, sulfur dioxide can cause acid rain. You might have studied in your lower classes. Sulfur dioxide, it dissolves in water in atmosphere to form sulfuric acid. It comes along with rain, causing acid rain. It can also cause respiratory diseases, breathing difficulties, and asthma. So let's see which are the major impacts of air pollution. As I've mentioned at the very beginning, we won't be going to the details of all the impacts. There are any number of impacts. Actually, each impact needs a dedicated session actually. So we will just go through all the impacts and we will be discussing one impact in detail, that is smoke. This is which type of impact? This is which impact of air pollution? Acid rain. Because sulfur dioxide and oxides of nitrogen are emitted into the air from industries as well as from automobiles, and these oxides of nitrogen and oxides of sulfur react with atmospheric moisture to produce nitric acid and sulfuric acid, and they are deposited along with rain coming as acid rain, affecting the vegetation, the fertility of soil, and also the buildings and monuments. This is protection of ozone layer, as we have already seen, depletion of ozone layer. This layer of ozone present in the stratosphere, it protects us from the harmful UV radiations from the sunlight. This protects us as an umbrella, this ozone layer. But the chlorofluorocarbons emitted, they will cause depletion of this ozone layer, or they will produce some holes in the ozone layer so that the UV rays will reach Earth, causing skin problem. They will affect our RNA, DNA functions, proteins, etc. They will cause skin and eye irritation. Then another impact of air pollution is greenhouse effect. If you consider the solar energy, a part of the solar energy is passed through the atmosphere to reach Earth's surface. Some of the energy is reflected back. Some of the energy is re-radiated. But what happens to some of the heat energy from the solar radiations? They get trapped in the lower atmosphere by the greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide, methane, chlorofluorocarbons, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, or nitrous oxide, these are all greenhouse gases. All these gases, they trap the heat of the solar energy. So what will happen? The Earth's temperature will rise. So that will result in global warming and climate changes. Actually, a particular amount of greenhouse gases is required to keep the normal temperature of Earth's surface. But when the concentration of greenhouse gases become excess, they trap all the heat energy. So Earth becomes a hotter place to live in. Earlier, the vehicular emission and the industrial emissions were comparatively less. So the carbon dioxide released into atmosphere was less than the carbon dioxide absorbed by trees. So there was no global warming, no climate change issues. But nowadays, the carbon dioxide released into atmosphere, its quantity is more than the carbon dioxide stored by trees and other plant life. So what happens? The greenhouse concentration increases, global warming is resulted, global climate increases, that results in melting of polar glaciers and ice caps, which may result in flooding of coastal towns. It is predicted that many of the towns may get flooded in the coming 10 years. So there will be a change in the rainfall pattern. The agricultural output will change. So all these are impacts of climate change. That's a very interesting and important topic. Um, there is scope for another talk on this topic. It's a very detailed topic, climate change. Recently, there was a climate change convention held last month, November. Have you heard of a climate conference, international climate conference that was held last month, November? You might have read in newspaper or in social media, you might have read. There was a major climate conference. Anybody, can you tell me what is the name of that conference? If the seminar would have been in the offline mode, usually I ask such small questions and I give small gifts. ഇപ്പോൾ ഗിഫ്റ്റ് ഒന്നും കിട്ടാത്തതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ആരും ഒന്നും പറയാത്തത്. Have you heard of a climate conference? International conference on climate change, which was held last month. Have you heard of COP? COP, COP. COP 26. The 26th conference on climate change. It was held in Scotland, Glasgow, last month. That is COP 26. It was held in Scotland in November 2021. And in that particular conference, India has promised and we have declared 2070 as the deadline so as to bring our greenhouse gas emission to zero. So we have to strive towards achieving that goal. And what is this next impact? This environmental impact is known as smoke. It results from smoke plus fog. And let's see how the smoke is formed. Oxides of nitrogen and volatile organic compounds from automobile emissions in presence of sunlight, they give rise to brown photochemical smoke. Or to be more precise, the oxides of nitrogen and volatile organic carbons from industrial emissions, from automobile emissions, from ships and from aircrafts. All these are primary pollutants. In presence of sunlight, these primary pollutants produce secondary pollutants known as ozone and PANs, peroxyacyl nitrates. And this results in smog. These are the ingredients of smog, O3 and PANs. And this takes place in presence of sunlight, so it is known as photochemical smoke. And these are the reactions taking place here. The oxides of nitrogen that enter into atmosphere from vehicles, this NO combines with oxygen to form nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen dioxide in presence of sunlight, it is again broken into NO and one oxygen atom. This oxygen atom combines with oxygen molecule to form ozone. This is an ingredient of smoke. So this NO combines with oxygen and NO can also combine with this ozone molecule. So the cycle will again continue. NO plus ozone will give you NO2 plus O2. This NO2 will again break into NO plus O. So this chain goes on like that. And NO combines with oxygen, NO combines with ozone, NO combines with hydrocarbon, NO also combines with volatile organic carbons. So NO combines with hydrocarbons to form NO2 plus PAN. And volatile organic carbons combine with NO to form O3. These reactions take place in presence of sunlight. That is why it is known as photochemical smoke. So these are the pictures taken last month. First one is picture of BG, and this is picture of New Delhi. And the firecrackers, burning of firecrackers during Deepavali is blamed as one of the culprit for this Delhi air pollution. But in Beijing, Deepavali is not celebrated, but the situation is more or less similar. Both these towns are covered with a layer of pollution, as you can see in the figure, and the visibility is even less than 200 meters. So which are the reasons for this smog? Let's see. Urban sprawl is one reason. That means spreading of a city to the suburbs. So what will happen? The consumers are relocating to the suburbs of the urban area. So the urban area is spreading horizontally. So this relocation forces the consumers to move farther away. So they have to travel a lot to the workplace, to the social events, say to a mall, they will have to travel. And for even their day-to-day commodities, they'll be traveling. So this increases the amount of time their vehicle engine remains on. So this results in smoke. Then burning of firecrackers, vehicular emission, and stubble burning also contributes to smoke. What is stubble? Stubble means crop residue. Burning of crop residue. We have already seen that waste burning is one of the main reasons for PM10 and PM2.5. Now you can analyze this situation. So if you consider New Delhi, our national capital, it is a landlocked area. It is locked between Haryana and Uttar Pradesh and also Punjab. Now, if you consider this Punjab and Haryana, these two are farm-driven states. So, if you consider Punjab, it is the second largest producer of wheat and the third largest producer of rice in the country. So, these two are farm-driven states. And by the mid-October or from mid-October to November, they have already harvested paddy. Then they clear their agricultural fields for seeding wheat. So for that, they have to clear their agricultural lands. So after harvesting of rice, the farmers set crop residue on fire so as to clear the agricultural land. That is known as stubble burning. So that results in large quantity of particulate matter emission, and this particulate matter emission and smoke will travel to New Delhi because Delhi is locked between these states. So all these stubble burning smoke will be coming to concentrating at New Delhi, causing the smog pollution. Now, how will you measure the air quality at a particular place? Using air quality index. There are different types of air quality indices, like India uses National Air Quality Index, Canada uses Air Quality Health Index, Singapore uses Pollutant Standards Index, and Malaysia uses Air Pollution Index. So there are different types of indexes, and we use Air Quality Index. This was launched in 2014 in New Delhi under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. And the air quality index measures the quality of air at a particular place. Because as we have seen earlier, there are 8 number of criteria pollutants. So how will you know the quality of air at a particular place? So in a simple way, how to know the air quality, how a citizen can understand the air quality. This National Air Quality Index is the answer. So this is a single figure representing the air quality at a particular place. If the air quality is poor, what will happen? The very young people will be affected because their breathing rate is faster. So their more air intake will be more. So they are at risk. Now, if you consider the old people, undiagnosed lung diseases they might be having, so pollution can aggravate their condition. If you consider persons with chronic illness, again they are at risk. Now, even healthy people, they can be affected when they exercise outdoors if the concentration of pollutants is very high. So that means the young, the old, the persons which are at risk, and also even the healthy persons, all are affected by poor air quality. So we should know the air quality at a particular place. If it is represented by a simple number, we can easily understand, okay, fine, this is the air quality at this place. And if we know the health impacts in advance, we can take precautionary measures. And the local authorities, they can chalk out some action plans to improve the air quality. And we can check whether the air quality standards are met with. if they are not met with what is the action plan to be implemented there, we can make some policies. And also it encourages the citizens to participate in air quality management. And even now there are a lot of apps showing the air quality like Suffer, Samir, etc. So as I already mentioned, these are the criteria pollutants as far as India is concerned. We take the 24 hourly average, and these are the Indian standard values. Now, how do you calculate the air quality index at a particular place? We have 8 criteria pollutants, X1, X2, X3, etc. So at a particular place, you have to measure at least 3 of the 8 pollutants. 3 significant pollutants, at least 3 you will have to measure. And either PM10 or PM2.5 should be there among these 3. And you will calculate a sub-index or air quality index for each pollutant. And maximum of that particular value will be the air quality index at that place. Okay. And if the air quality index is between 0 and 50, the air quality is good. If it is 51 to 100, satisfactory. 101 to 200, it is moderately polluted. If it's 201 to 300, poor. 301 to 400, it's very poor. And if the air quality is more than 400, it is severe. For example, if you consider the particulate matter 2.5 we are measuring. If the 24-hour average of particulate matter 2.5 at a particular place is 30, it means that the air quality index is 50 and the air quality at that particular place is good. And if PM 2.5 is 15, what do you mean by that? What will be the air quality if this PM 2.5 is 15? If it is 30, it is 50. If it is half of that, that means 15, it will be 25. So like that, based on different parameters, we can find out the air quality index. And if AQI is good, it is having minimal impact. And if it is satisfactory, it may cause minor breathing discomfort. And in the case of moderately polluted and poor and very poor cases, it may affect sensitive people. And if it is severe, it may cause respiratory impact even on healthy people, and it is very serious. So these are the importance of this air quality index I've already discussed. And also I'd like to highlight some interesting facts. Excuse me, when is your college buses will be leaving by 4, no? Can we take 10 more minutes? I think by 3:40 we can wind up.
Okay, ma'am, it's fine.
By 3:40 we can wind up, I think. So some interesting facts we can see. Polluted air has been linked with the accelerated aging of skin. And this we have already seen. Sensors that can detect potentially dangerous air pollution are currently being developed for smartphones. And during heavy traffic jam, pollutants outside can seep into your car, making the air inside your car 10 times more polluted than the typical city air. So even traveling in a car, within a car, can be causing harm to your health. And air pollution makes you look old. All of you want to be looking beautiful, looking quite young, right? So Procter & Gamble recently released a report that polluted air can cause a perceived aging. It contains over 200 chemicals that age the skin. This becomes a bigger issue in larger cities. They have conducted a study of over 200 women aged between 30 to 45 from urban as well as rural area. So the people, the ladies from the rural area, they look very young, pretty young. Whereas the women from the urban area or from the cities, the perceived age was much more than the actual age. So this air pollutant makes you look old. എല്ലാവർക്കും നല്ല stylish look ഒക്കെ വേണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ air pollution കുറയ്ക്കാനായിട്ട് you will have to try. Nearly 6 million people visit the Sistine Chapel every year. And in 2010, it was discovered that lot of people are visiting that place. So the increased level of carbon dioxide from the breath of these visitors, it was causing the frescoes to whiten. What do you mean by frescoes? Frescoes means a sort of mural painting. So the painting will be done by plastering the wall and ceiling. Even when the plaster is wet, these paintings will be drawn. So once the plaster is set, the painting will become a part of that wall. That is known as frescoes. So they were affected by the breathing of the visitors coming over there. Now, if you consider perfumed candles, usually for on Valentine's Day and birthday, we give perfumed candles. But these perfumed candles are made from paraffin, a petroleum byproduct. Usually, the petroleum waste it is chemically just bleached and deodorized and made into a wax. So when it is burnt, it can release toxic volatile organic compounds into the air, including acetone, benzene, toluene. They are all carcinogens. And you might have heard of the toxic trio in nail polish. Are you aware of the fact that our nail polish is harmful? It's a poison. Nail polish പ്രശ്നക്കാരനാണോ? Varsha, Sanjana, what do you think? Nail polish പ്രശ്നമാണോ? Kritika? In nail polish, there is a toxic trio: formaldehyde, dibutyl phthalate, and toluene. So it is highly toxic. Similarly, we will apply sunscreen, right? So the sunscreen contains another chemical known as PFA. It will be absorbed through our skin. They are all known as forever chemicals. Have you heard of forever chemicals? They are forever. Say some bonds are forever, some relations are forever. So some chemical bonds are also forever. Because the bond between carbon and fluorine, it is forever. We cannot break down that bond. It's very strong, the relation between carbon and fluorine. So there is no breakup. When carbon and fluorine are joined, when there is a bond, it is very strong. We cannot break it down. Then what happens? It remains intact in air as a pollutant. It remains in our body as a pollutant. Say the Teflon coated the cookwares, they are also harmful. So as far as possible, when you buy cosmetics, when you buy products, and even our takeaway containers, now we takeaway containers, we order food from Swiggy, etc. So the takeaway containers, they also contain these forever chemicals. So whenever you buy a product, whenever you buy a cosmetic, check twice the ingredients and ensure that they do not contain these toxic chemicals. Okay, that is very important. Now let's see how board regulates air pollution. Board has some air quality monitoring stations. We have some 36 manual stations in Kerala, and 9 continuous ambient air quality monitoring stations are also there. Without any human intervention, real-time monitoring is carried out in these 9 stations. And in these 36 stations, we are doing manual monitoring. We have operators. Every day they will be going to the station. They'll be manually measuring suspended particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, all the criteria pollutants they'll be measuring. Whereas in the case of this 9 stations, without any human intervention, real-time monitoring will go on, and the results will be continuously displayed on display boards. Whenever there is a non-attainment, we can chalk out an action plan. So this is the equipment used for measuring that particulate matter. Respirable dust sampler. Pre-weight filter paper is placed in this. I'm not going into the details due to paucity of time. And we ensure that air pollution control devices are provided and are operational in industries. And before starting the construction of any project, the establishments maybe an industry, maybe a workshop, maybe a service station, maybe a paint booth carrying out spray painting. So any industry or any establishment carrying out an emission have to obtain board's consent. Before starting, ICE, integrated consent to establish, is to be obtained. And after construction, once it's operational, we will go and ensure that all the air pollution control devices are provided and they are operational. Then we will issue integrated consent to operate. And every 5 years, they have to renew the consent. So as per Air Act, any industry, any establishment has to obtain this consent from board. Hotels, flats, mobile towers, generators, hospitals, restaurants, any sort of emission requires a consent from Pollution Control Board. And recently there are some issues. There are unauthorized explosives seized. Unauthorized drugs and opium are seized by the police. They are to be disposed somehow. But if they are burned, it will cause some problems, some air pollution it will cause. So there are certain incinerators, and we are stipulating the standards for that incinerator. And these are all air pollution control equipments. I am not going into the details. Those who are interested can go through the details, and if you have any doubt, you can just mail me or just message me. I'll clear the doubts, because you might not be that much interested in this part. I mean, if you are interested, of course, you can go through it. So these are all the different air pollution control devices. And then let's see what we can do to prevent air pollution. So simple steps, we can go through these things. They are self-explanatory. I'm not going to explain these things because the last TED talk I'd like to share with you, because that is very important. You can think of such innovations. It is you people who have to think of such innovations. It's very interesting. So I cannot just avoid sharing this with you. So let's see a TED talk. Have you heard of TED talks? It's just an American media organization that posts such influential talks on ideas worth spreading, technology, entertainment, and design. So I'll just share that. And with that, we'll be winding up our session. We have to change our earth from this situation to this situation. And I hope there will be initiatives from your side for this. I'll just share that small video on that TED talk. Creation from pollution. Have you heard of Air Inc? Air Inc. It's just ink made of air pollution. So thank you, dear friends, and I hope you enjoy this video. And also the gems from School of Engineering will come up with more innovative ideas as a solution to pollution like this. Wish you all the best, and it was a nice experience. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for delivering a wonderful session. Despite of your health condition, you took so much pain to address us all regarding air pollution. Thank you, ma'am. We expect more of the kind talks. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, ma'am. I shall end the meeting now. On behalf of IIC, I extend my sincere gratitude to you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you and have a nice time.